The Employment Opportunity Hour with Gene Hodge. Every Thursday night from 7 until 8.
So the purpose of the show is to help you out there to find something that you enjoy doing instead of a job. And at the start of the show, I normally give out a formula, which I know will guarantee you to find the type of job that you want right now.
Find out the formula to an enjoyable job with Gene Hodges' Employment Opportunity Hour every Thursday night from 7 until 8 here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Show me the money.
Hi, I'm Dawn with Sunkiss Charters. Come and sail with us on a 37-foot endeavor out in the Gulf of Mexico. Up to 6 people, $100 an hour, 3-hour minimum. You can split it between each other. Pet friendly, bring your own food, drinks, restrooms on board. Make it a memory maker. Call 727-871-7788 or call 727-315-4936. SunkissCharters.com. We'll see you out at the Gulf of Mexico.
Thinking about starting your own business? Then you need to listen to the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. There's nothing more rewarding than starting your own business. Gene and Mr. Dukes will bring you tips and advice from themselves and other entrepreneurs that will help you get started. Have you already started your own business? Then call in and share your story to help other entrepreneurs. That's the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Tampa Bay's Tan Talk. Entertaining and informative radio for the Sunshine State.
Can you hear the voices of the people marching everywhere? And now you should know that we are not going anywhere. Can you feel us now? We ain't backing down. No, we won't turn around. Now you see the fringe minority. Can you hear the sound rising through the crowd? Yes, sing it loud and proud. Now you see the fringe minority. Whoa. Now you see the fringe minority.
All right, everybody. Jara and Miriam are back with Voices for Change.
Yes, hello, everybody.
And I should probably say that's my song, Fringe Minority.
Oh my gosh, that song is amazing,
Thank
Jara.
you. And you can buy all my music at jara.com. Oh, thanks,
Bobby in the booth. Woo!
Jara.com. My name is Jierra, like Sierra Mist. Jierra.com for all of that. Miriam, we have an absolutely phenomenal show today.
I know, seriously, it's
we have
amazing.
3 guests.
I know, it's going to be fantastic.
3 for the price of 1, everybody.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's going to be great. Well, you know what? I just want to give a big shout out to Chapters Wrap. Thank you so much for hosting this show for us. This is Voices for Change. And we have a big thank you to Steve Vaquera, Anna back there in the back, Carmine, and Bobby in the booth. Thank you
we got
very much.
A whole crew. Yeah. Because for our listeners, just so you know, some people are watching our live stream. We are videoing this. We're live streaming right now on Facebook and YouTube, but we also are on FM radio all across Florida and New York. So we're in a joint collaboration with Tan Talk Network here in Florida, and Chapters Wrap is obviously also the network that we are on. So thank you to everybody for free speech.
That's right, free speech. And we are very happy to bring this show to you because we're focusing on human rights. And this is a topic that brings us all together. It unifies us, right? Because unfortunately, we have a pretty polarized public as far as politics goes, healthcare, racism. I mean,
religion.
Oh my goodness, religion. Yeah, right. There's like so many different issues that are unfortunately pretty polarized, and that's why we here with Chapters Wrap on Voices for Change love to focus on human rights because it unifies us, right? It brings us all together.
Absolutely. And you know what? I talked to a lot of freedom fighters in a lot of different fields. And the amazing thing is, and it's perfectly okay, this is why we're doing the show, a lot of people do not even know what the human rights are. So every time, every show, I just like to, give a shout out that the human rights were actually adopted by the United Nations back in the 40s.
Yep.
And there are 30 agreed upon basic human rights. And the wonderful thing about it is that most policies that are even implemented into, different fields of government, different fields of, good policy actually are based off of your basic human rights. So it's not controversial because it's not even the United States versus or the Constitution or, like we said, your religious, ideologies, your racial beliefs. It is actually just 30 basic human rights. So if you guys ever want to look at those for yourself, you can go to the UN.org and look them up. And it's great because, it's a great policy to know and be able to uphold and be educated in what your basic human rights are.
Yeah, it binds us together and kind of gives a baseline of freedoms.
Absolutely.
Of like just sort of basic human rights of what's the baseline? I know I keep saying baseline, but it's just so basic.
It's true. It is. And actually, I have a bunch here because basically like even, when we pull certain amendments from our Constitution, but even that sometimes is a hot topic right now about people that believe in the Constitution, people that do not, people that are listening in other areas or watching in other countries. And the truth is like basic things like, your ability to have free speech, your ability to educate your children the way that you see fit, the right to your own privacy and your own, your family and your own actual privacy, which kind of goes along with our mental rights. I mean, our mental and our medical rights as well.
Oh, yeah,
all
definitely.
of that is covered in the basic human rights.
Definitely. And what about just our basic human right to live without torture?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, right. It's pretty fundamental if you ask me.
Absolutely. Well, Miriam, if you like, I'd like to get started with some of our amazing guests.
Oh, yeah.
And just kind of bring them right in because, like I said, we got a power punch of an interview lined up for you today. Our first guest, I actually have met twice now, and I think I talk about Blexit every single show these days. What an incredible organization that is bringing people together. Obviously created by Candace Owens and Officer Brandon Tatum. I met Xavier at a Blexit event and then ran into him again at the Student Action Summit. Xavier is just such a cool guy because what an amazing story he has. He was actually a pretty deep in like actual BLM activist. So Black Lives Matter activist for quite some time. And then he started educating himself about what that really was and what was actually going on with that. And did a full turnaround and actually became, he uses his platform to speak out as a commentator in San Francisco Bay Area. He's a conservative cultural and political commentator, and he now represents Blexit, Turning Point USA, Today is America, and PragerU. And he's using his rising social media platform to educate viewers on things like politics and cultural debates and exposing fraudulent organizations like BLM. So I think this was amazing because I have never met anyone that was formerly actually a part of that group. And to hear his story about what changed within him to make the change, and also the courage that it takes to also look at something that maybe you thought was good and you thought you were doing the right thing, but then you have to look at it and go, oh goodness, I have more information now. I need to make a change in my life. And that's why we enjoy interviewing guests like this, because there's so many people at the edge of fear and they don't move into action, into making their lives better, maybe because they're so afraid of what the consequences would be. So I love interviewing guests where they've made some major change in their life. And we're going to talk to him about what that took and what he had to overcome to do it. So why don't we bring on Xavier Russo?
Woo! It's going to be fantastic.
Yes, sir. Hello, Xavier.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you
for
so
being
much
here.
for coming.
No problem. One thing I want to preface with is you two were both so spot on in the intro as far as human rights goes. One thing I really just admire and appreciate and how you guys have built this platform centered around human rights. And of course, I'll get more in depth on the transition that happened there. But back when I was a BLM activist, I truly thought that I was fighting for human rights. I thought that fighting against quote unquote systemic racism and police brutality was what America needed. And come to find out, those issues aren't nearly as prevalent as I thought that they were. And now that I am a conservative commentator, I know I'm that much more rooted in values and truth and facts as I fight for human rights. So huge respect to you two for what you guys do.
Aw, thanks,
that's so
Xavier.
sweet.
Love
Wow.
that. Well, yes, and what a story you have. My goodness. How may I ask, how long were you actually with BLM? And then I know a little bit about you that I think the transition started when you started looking more into it because you were about to be cast on a reality television show. Is that correct?
That is correct. So I was a lifelong liberal Democrat. I even voted for Bernie Sanders in 2016, the unspeakable. But it all really started when I became more and more woke, and I got bored in 2020, and I applied for a really popular reality show where I was going to be a BLM activist and advocate on there, where I would teach people how to be an ally for BLM. And basically what happened was I was shown a video of Candace Owens, the notorious Candace Owens, and
Mm.
I was so angry because she was right.
Mm.
And
Oh,
I
wow.
so desperately wanted to prove her wrong. And this is all around the Floydapalooza. Everything's going on with the BLM riots. And I just could not get Candace Owens's video out of my head. So then I wanted to become a pro debater. And I started looking at videos from PragerU and from Candace Owens, of course, Ben Shapiro, etc., and trying to prove them wrong. I had a list of points, and every time I tried to dismantle those points, I just dismantled my entire narrative to the point where I had to back out of the show and reevaluate just everything that I was standing for. And I decided to speak out on the truth that I was able to find, and now trying to just raise more patriots in this country.
Yeah,
Wow.
that now I really want to go to that moment right there, if I may, just for a second, because I can only imagine, I don't want to put words into your mouth, Xavier, but I can only imagine that standing at that edge of making that decision and then coming out with a whole different ideology, a whole different set of talking points and going, this is what I believe in now. I can only imagine that there might have been some fear of the consequences of possibly losing your fan base, losing your friends, maybe kind of polarizing certain family members to you. What was it that was so important to you to keep your own integrity in on that and make that change anyway? And then also, how did you overcome any of the obstacles that took for yourself? Like maybe your mental or emotional well-being, because we also like to move people into like, we all have struggles that we face, but how did you overcome that in your own way to try to move other people to overcome things that they may need to overcome in their own lives?
Of course. Well, if there's any way I would describe how I felt in the beginning of it, it's mortified. Because I
Oh,
was
wow. Yeah,
I was
totally.
so mortified that I spent so long fighting so adamantly for these different causes just to see through it. And then eventually I was just grateful. I was grateful that I was able to find the truth. And I always have been someone that prided themselves in being objective and not afraid to admit when they were wrong. So for me, it was one of those moments where you just have to don't talk about it. You have to be about it. You have to practice what you preach. So it was finding more truth and becoming more solidified in everything that I stood for that motivated me to speak out more. And I can't say it was easy. People always think because it's like it's worked out for me that it was just this easy process. Oh, no, not at all. It was very difficult. I did lose some. I don't even like to say friends, let's say acquaintances, because real friends would never turn their back on you just because you would change certain beliefs when it doesn't affect them like that. But there were family members who basically turned their back on me, that blocked me and excommunicated me. And, I've had to just accept that that's more a reflection on them.
Oh,
That's more
wow.
of a reflection of the fact that they're not yet ready to see the truth. But if you keep just persevering, putting the truth out there, being just a good-hearted person, then who knows, maybe you planted seeds that one day that person is going to look back and be like, why is it that he stands so firm on this, that he's willing to give up everything? Why is
Wow.
it that he's being essentially a martyr? It's like I put myself out there online to be slaughtered, just like you guys do, being public people in this space. And it's worth it because I know what it is I'm fighting for.
It's very impressive because you're truly standing on a platform built on integrity, right? I mean, you like really wanted to figure out exactly what you're speaking out about, and you took the time to research it and went through all of the, I'm sure, pretty tough moments of different interpersonal relationships, and then you still stood your ground, and you're speaking out and helping so many people now because of it. Very impressive.
Absolutely. And I think authenticity is always the biggest thing too. The reason that so many of my close family members and friends, I feel like, were willing to hear me out on certain issues is because they knew how passionate I was about BLM. I had spent years advocating on social media just as a hobby, basically trying to educate people on white privilege and reparations and oppression and all these things. So when there was finally a point in my life where I was like, you know what? No, never mind. This is this is not really the important just thing to die, like the what is it, the phrase, the hill to die on that I thought that it
Mm,
was.
mhm.
They were willing to hear me out. And
Uh,
when you present facts, people can only deny it for so long. If they deny facts, then they're just being delusional at that point.
mm,
When it's opinions, it's a little different, but it's all about communication and meeting people where they are. So very grateful for the circle of people that I have around me to this day.
I bet.
yeah.
And also, you
So
posted a
important.
video, I think it was just last night. I think it was about 5 different topics or something like that regarding what you have learned or what you're looking at with regards to BLM. Because, we can say BLM, Black Lives Matter, whatever. But there are people that really don't know yet what it would be like for you, what
Mhm.
you were looking at, or what facts you realized, like, oh, wait a second, I have now some more information. Could you kind of reiterate some of the things you went over in that video with regards to what it was specifically about certain points that you were like, oh, this actually doesn't line up?
Absolutely. So that video was top 5 reasons why I no longer support Black Lives Matter. And I
Mhm.
actually made that video on the fly because I had posted something on my Facebook, which I don't usually do on my personal Facebook. And a longtime childhood friend of mine that doesn't really follow my Instagram or anything like that had asked me, so why is it that you don't support BLM anymore? And I was like, well, how can I make in 1 minute or less all the
Oh,
reasons, just at least summarize the reasons why I don't support BLM? Number 5 was selectivity. It's very bizarre to me how I said hundreds in the video, but really it's thousands of Black people are being executed by other Black people every single year, but there's no hashtags for them. There's
mhm.
no t-shirts for
Mm,
them. Where are the marches? It's like those Black lives aren't mattering to the Black community. It's only
mm,
when a white police officer shoots a Black person that people are making any concern about it. And then the next
mm,
thing I believe was going into just where is the money going?
Yeah.
BLM raised $90 million in 2020 alone.
Mhm.
And guess how much of that went to Black communities, Black businesses, etc.?
I don't
wow.
know,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Gosh, you're like bringing a
0.
tear to my eye. You're such a courageous human rights advocate, Xavier.
Yeah. And
Well,
and you
thank
did
you.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. And you did mention something about that with regards to like with all the rioting that did occur. Unfortunately, a lot of actually Black owned businesses were very badly affected by that. So it doesn't really make much sense. But all that money that was raised, I think you brought the point of like, hey, why didn't the money go into these communities where the most damage was done? Correct?
Exactly. So
Mm,
many Black communities were destroyed, which even back when I was a part of BLM, I didn't understand the mentality about that. It's like you're destroying your own neighborhood
Yeah.
yeah.
to stand up against police brutality. It's like, where are you going to buy your groceries now? It's like you just oppressed yourself.
Yeah.
So I just never understood that. But $2 billion worth of damage was done just from the Floyd riots alone. So you imagine
Mm,
everything else taken into consideration. And BLM did nothing for the Black businesses that were destroyed. $0 and 0 cents went to Black communities, Black businesses, or even the families of these quote unquote police brutality victims that they showcased. Breonna
oh,
Taylor
so
was
sad.
probably the second biggest name showcased since the BLM movement took off internationally. And her mother, Breonna Taylor's mother, actually spoke out against how fraudulent BLM was and the way that they made millions of dollars on her late daughter's name,
Mhm.
image, and likeness, and never once financially supported her.
Well,
Wow.
it is said many times, follow the money. And of course, you had some other points as well. And I thought that, I watched that video. And of course, we should just shout out when you're done and where everyone can find you on social media. But I think it's very educational to people to hear from your perspective. Obviously, you have the best perspective because you were a member. So if you could also give us some of the other points to just like raise the communication about this, raise the awareness of it for anyone that's out there listening that maybe, has not gone down the rabbit hole of trying to find out more true facts. So, Xavier, please take the mic. And we have a few more points that you had on that video. I'd love to hear them.
Of course, I talked a lot on there about just the police brutality statistics that people always talk about. I was under the impression for so long that hundreds of Black people were unarmed and being executed by police officers, but that's not the case. There's usually around a dozen. It's a very, very tiny percentage of Black people that are shot by the police while unarmed. But the narrative is that the police officers are hunting us down when really they're the ones protecting us in our communities. And
Yep.
Black Americans know that. 81% of Black Americans said in 2020 that they would want the police in their neighborhoods the same amount, if not more.
Mm.
Yeah. So no more defunding the police, right?
Exactly.
Boo. Boo to that.
Well, listen,
It's a lot, Miriam. I know he's great.
listen, I know you're amazing. And it's not to say that Black lives don't matter.
Of course they
Obviously, we're
do.
not, of course. I mean, like, all lives matter, right? This is why we really want to focus on human rights for all of us.
Mhm.
And I do look forward to the day when we have, I know it makes me sound extremely idealistic, but Xavier, please bear with me. I do look forward to the day where we have peace on planet Earth and there's no need for wars and things like that. But yeah, anyway, yeah, while we still need protection, we definitely need protection.
Yeah, and we're not saying, of course, that we don't believe that Black lives matter. That's an idea. That's a
movement.
value.
Yeah, sure.
We're talking about the organization Black Lives Matter,
Yeah.
not the fact that Black lives do matter. A lot of lives matter. All different races of lives matter.
Yeah,
but we're
exactly.
just talking for our audience out there right now. We're just talking about the actual organization Black Lives Matter, or BLM. So, of course, we're trying to give you a little more education about that from a former member.
Yes.
So
Thank
also,
you, Xavier.
Xavier, if you want to finish some of those points, and then also I would love to talk about what you're doing now, because you've transitioned in such an incredible way. That's why I wanted to tell your story, because obviously you had to make this huge change. There was probably fear, loss, and you've transitioned into such an incredible array of things that you're doing that, of course, I want to talk about that as well. But if you want to finish those couple points first, up to you.
Yeah, and the last two that are on that video is I mentioned MLK and the civil rights movement. BLM's movement, because as fraudulent as the organization is, and I can go on for hours about that, the movement also just did not stand for anything that the civil rights movement stood for. What happened to virtues and values? Now it's all about violence and literally resegregating the communities. It's destroying all the progress that we made with the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
And the last point on there was just the fear aspect of it. They're using fear as a way to control votes. And, whenever you use fear, it's like an Achilles heel, especially in the Black community, considering things that actually did happen in the past. People are so afraid of going back to that they're just sometimes irrational in looking at what the facts are in the situation, because they're just so emotionally driven and they don't know what truth to believe.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You're such a great speaker, Xavier, and to just be a young man that's so well-spoken, so educated, obviously, like you said, standing on truth, and to have such courage and integrity. It's very inspiring. First, I think we need a round of applause.
Yes, seriously.
For Xavier in
yes,
general.
please, let's give Xavier a round of applause. Totally.
Thank you.
I was just sitting here thinking we're also blessed that you have so much courage to speak out and stand for truth and stand for human rights and say the things that are probably pretty hard for most people to say.
Yeah. And also now the fact that you've transitioned this into, I'd love to talk about the work that you're doing. My goodness, it's like 4 different organizations. We've got Blexit, Turning Point USA, PragerU, and Today is America. Now, is Today is America your actual organization that you started on your own, or your company? I wasn't quite sure when I was reading all the stuff.
So it's not my organization. It's an organization I'm very happy to partner with. I'm actually the president over there. I just became president very recently.
Woohoo, Xavier.
That's awesome.
Thank you. I could get used to that here in President Xavier, not gonna lie.
President, everyone, we have President Xavier on the line.
I know, it sounds great.
10 more
Sounds
years.
so good with
we'll
your
see.
name.
Okay, I'm cool
Perfect.
with it.
Yeah, there we go.
So what is that about?
Yeah, of course. So it's a Gen Z oriented organization that has about 300 different ambassadors and content creators affiliated with us. And what Today's America is about is we equip different young people who are either new creators or established creators, and just having the tools, the resources, the connection, and even just the information to be able to make their voices more heard and to reach more people. Because what a lot of people tend to overlook is that Gen Z and young millennials are very close to becoming the largest voting bloc in America. It's going to actually happen very soon, if not already. And it's so important that we are reaching Gen Z and young millennials where we are. And that's social media, that's on the radio, and it's on all of these different apps that are just filled with pollution. So getting our voices out there is such an important thing to do. And another thing that we do there is we help people establish kind of brands for themselves. Like I have a collaborative brand with them called Basic Facts Matter. And that's where it's all about just highlighting the truth that the media hides, especially when it comes to race and BLM and fighting things like fraudulent critical race theory and the idea of reparations. All of that, we dive into that on that page there.
Amazing.
It's so amazing.
And to, again, be so young and so driven. I absolutely love it. And also, like, what would you say, because obviously going from making videos that are, you know, anti-Candace Owens to now working with Candace Owens at Blexit. I would love from your point of view for you to shed a little bit of light on Blexit. I've talked about Blexit on the radio probably 9 times now. So we need to we're going to make a Jara Blexit reel and then show it to the founders of Blexit. Like, this girl's really about this. But I love that organization because it is so inclusive. And to me, like a lot of friends and stuff even ask, oh, well, honestly, do you have to be Black to be a part of Blexit? I'm like, absolutely not. It covers so many races, and the information that they're bringing forward and the unity that they're creating, in my opinion, and also blowing holes in critical race theory and all of this kind of stuff is just so informative and so refreshing. So I'd love to hear from your point of view, what it's been like to work with them. And if you could give our audience a little bit more information about them and how they've inspired you, that would be great.
Yeah, Blexit is amazing. They were actually one of the first organizations in this space to reach out to me, and they just welcomed me with completely open arms. And now, a year and a half later, I'm actually the director of social media for them, as well as a freedom ambassador. Blexit is all about it stands for Black Exit, particularly like Black exit from the left and from liberal ideas, and just reestablishing a lot more values in the community that I really feel that we once had, because there's a lot of organizations within this space that are afraid to touch on things like race and are afraid to really reach out to the Black community. But Blexit is taking that head on. We are a grassroots organization. We are in the community. We are impacting culture. And they were some of the first people I wanted to be connected with because I related to it so much. I related to the mission, being a Black person who heard so many of the common mainstream narratives and truly believed in them. When I finally started to just think freely, I just felt right at home with Blexit. And it's not Black only. It's not all about race. That's not just the only thing that we talk about. We talk about so many more things. And just ultimately, we encourage free thinking and just family values, reestablishing family values and fighting father absence, fighting illiteracy rates. We're putting educational camps out there for young children. And it's just an amazing organization. Very proud to partner with.
It really is. And
amazing.
if there are Blexit chapters in many states across the United States. So if you are listening to this either live on the radio or you're watching it wherever you are in the United States and you can find a Blexit chapter near you, I strongly suggest that people go to the events, because I will tell you, even as like, I'm about as fair skinned as it comes, like I'm about as white as they make them. And I will tell you that even I am always inspired when I go there. It's inspiring across all races. And it really is amazing, even for me, the things that people say, and I'm like, wait, you can't say that. What?
It was a very inspirational event. I can say
Miriam went as well.
I did when you guys were here, and the big event down in Ybor in Tampa, and I watched beautiful Miss Jara sing, which was awesome, and heard you as well. It was great.
Yeah, it was so incredible events. I strongly recommend them. And Xavier, we're going to have to wrap up with you in a minute, but I definitely want people to know, where can they find you? Or we've listed off a bunch of different organizations that you work with here. What is the best way that people could find you if you were to shout it out and they're listening in the radio right now?
Of course. So I'm on most platforms. My username on majority of them, particularly Instagram, is just my first name @Xavier. It's irregular spelling though. It's Xavier. Again, that's Xavier is an error in my birth certificate, but my mom liked it. So there you have it.
That's perfect.
love it.
Oh my God, Xavier, that's amazing.
It actually, I'm looking at it on the screen right now. It looks good. It's very
Yeah.
balanced with all the letters.
Yeah.
I think that's why
that's
my
great.
mom liked it.
Yeah. Well,
Uh-huh.
I have an extra I in my name because it looked good. So I understand.
There you go.
But also, if anyone wants to watch the live video afterwards, we're going to repost all of these videos and really get them out there because, these interviews are so incredible. Xavier, you're so wonderful.
Yes.
I look forward even off of this interview to continuing, having a relationship with you and continuing the dialogue. You're an absolutely incredible human being. So we really want to thank you for being on the show, Mr. Xavier DeRusso.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for
Xavier
having me.
DeRusso. Woo!
Thank you.
And I look forward to being friends with you as well.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you so much for everything that you're doing and being on the show and being such a powerful voice for change.
Yeah, we're all going to be BFFs.
Yeah, there you go.
And also,
Thank you, and
Xavier,
likewise.
if you want to hang out and listen to our next interview, we've got 2 more incredible people coming on. I think you're going to dig them. I actually met them at a Blexit event. Go
Of course.
Blexit. Blexit. Let's just keep saying it on the radio. All right.
We
Well,
love
thank
that.
you, Xavier. I'm going to
Yeah.
introduce our next guests here.
Mhm.
We actually have Steve Davis and David Panzik. I hope I'm saying that right, David. If not, in a minute, you can get on here and correct me. But these guys are really incredible. Like I said, I met them. I was singing at another Blexit event and they were sitting like second row, just 2 really cool guys. Got to speak with them a little bit about what they're doing. They have created an organization and a merchandise line called Raising Alphas. And that is about raising the next generation of leaders, not followers. I'm just going to give you a little bit of info about these guys. We've got David, who is a firefighter for nearly a decade and left the service almost 5 years ago to spend more time with his family.
Beautiful.
He's husband for over 10 years and father of 2 young boys. And because of this, recognized that his boys' generation is being attacked and conditioned to normalize behaviors that are not age appropriate while removing the influence of parents from their children. And actually, just real quick in the intro, I'm just going to bring up a point of the fact that, DeSantis did go ahead and pass in April 22, 2021, the Parents' Bill of Rights. And in that Bill of Rights, it says the right to direct the education and care of your minor child. But also, guys, in case you didn't know, it's a basic human right. It's actual Article 26, Part 3. Parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children. So that's a basic human right that you guys have. So go
beautiful.
Steve on that. Excuse me, David. And then
Yeah.
we have Steve, also his partner in crime. Steve is a U.S. Army veteran who served as a mechanized infantry medic and flight medic. So he is an active member of the fire service working as a division chief. And he has spent 21 years, in fire and emergency services where he has served his community, friends, and family. So also he has an incredible story that we're going to get to, but he also has been married for 16 years and they have 2 boys as well. And so, he really obviously saw that it was very important to be teaching them the importance of God and family and life skills and to be strong and respectful and humble. And then as he has continued to be a leader in his community, these guys, have their story of how they found each other and why they felt it was important to create Raising Alphas. So let's bring on these cool guys with a round of applause, David and Steve.
Perfect.
Hi, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. I have one criticism. The photo that you showed, that was Steve that you had in the photo when you listed David Panzik. That was Steve. That's the only criticism.
Oh,
Other than
no.
that, though, great job.
But you're David, right?
I am David.
And you're Steve, right?
I'm Steve.
Okay, good. Well, we've got it all sorted out now, everybody.
You could have the beard.
Okay, yeah, that's right. One's with the beard, one's without the beard. Well, guys, I think it's incredible what you're doing. And I'm just going to say right off the bat that these guys, we want to kind of get into the difference from you guys' perspective of alphas versus aggro, because there's a lot of different things when people say, oh, alpha, and like, oh, well, that's too aggressive. But it's really not. And I just want to say right off the bat, David, I've spoken with you the most. Even in setting up this interview, you have set an incredible example as an alpha male. And I mean that because You were very driven. Like you really, you got back with me a lot because I told you, you're going to need to get back with me a whole bunch because I was in the middle of the Student Action Summit and all kinds of stuff. You stayed on it. You continued texting me. You said, am I bothering you? I said, no, you're not bothering me. I appreciate, you keeping in touch. And it was done. This is how I look at also Alpha Men. It was done with incredible purpose, but it was not done aggressively. And like, even the way that we set up this interview, I think embodies like everything that you represent. I just wanted to shout that out because these men are living examples of what they are trying to teach. And I respect that greatly.
That's beautiful.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, why don't we tell your story first and foremost? Actually, Stephen, I would like to start with a little bit of your story so we can get a backstory of how you guys came together and stuff. Steve, I believe that you have quite a story to tell while you were on the firefighting force, where you were asked to reveal people's medical records. Is that correct? With regards to certain injections and things that were going on after the shutdown. And because you refused to actually give that information about the people that were working with you, you got fired from the fire department. Is that correct? Could you tell us a little bit of that story?
Yeah, that's pretty much right on target. I was a battalion chief with Orange County Fire Rescue, and I'd been there for nearly 15 years. In October of last year, I ended up getting a list of employees that were in my battalion, and a list of everyone in the department, really. And when I saw this list, because I've had personal conversations with these men and women, these firefighters, and I saw that some of the names on the list were incorrect. They shouldn't have been on the list. And why I say that is a lot of people on the list had gotten a vaccination. They actually went through and got the vaccination. Others had gotten a medical exemption, and others had gotten a religious exemption. When
Just for social media purposes from this point, because we're streaming on the socials and they don't love that word, so we're just going to say like the shot, the GB jab, whatever you want to say, so we don't get canned.
They ended up getting the shot. Some got religious exemptions, others got medical exemptions, and after I had noticed all this, after having these personal conversations, I ended up going to my supervisor and I told her, I said, listen. A lot of these people on this list, we just need to confirm it. You're asking me to give them reprimands for doing something wrong, which in fact, they actually complied with the order and they're being reprimanded. And I'm telling you right now that we just need to look at that. A lot of people had religious exemptions. It was the biggest thing that I saw. And so I refused to issue those reprimands because what I felt right then and there was that there was no need to reprimand somebody that didn't deserve it. Let's give them discipline if it's deserved and warranted, but if this wasn't deserved. I ultimately was relieved of duty that evening, 10 o'clock at night. I went home, called my wife on the way home, let her know, hey, I'm going home. I don't know what's going to happen. I'll probably be suspended was what I thought. 2 weeks later, we're finding out they're going to terminate me. And we're in a big legal battle right now with Orange County because there's a lot of things that I've uncovered in the last 6 months. One, I had my union. They lied to me. They said that the individual who I specifically called out with a religious exemption, I said, I know that he turned one in. And they said, no, he never did. We checked on it. They lied to me. And I thought for 6 months that was true until I started digging into my own doing my own research, started digging into public records, and I found not only that he had turned in a religious exemption, but that the human resources had accepted it, that a conversation between this lieutenant and a battalion chief was discussed the day after my termination. And then that was forwarded to the person who terminated me, who hid that evidence through my entire grievance process. So this is the battle that I've been going through, and I've just been woken up to so many different things right now, just on how corrupt all this stuff has been over the last couple of years.
Wow. Yeah. And then, I mean, it must be a little bit extra infuriating the fact that the CDC just came out only a few days ago now, saying that all people with or without that have had it, have not had it, are to be treated fair and equally. So it kind of, going back to that time with all these repercussions when you did lose your job, but the fact that you still had the integrity to say, hey, these people are standing up for their own actual medical rights, their religious rights, and the fact that you were not willing to go with that and willing to stand up about that just shows incredible courage and integrity. And that's why we wanted to tell your story again, because there are people out there that are so afraid of the repercussions, and there are repercussions, but we keep trying to tell more and more stories of, look, maybe there were some rough times, right? But it looks like you landed on your feet. You're supporting your family. You've created a new organization and a new brand. So it almost looks like it turned out for the best.
Seriously. Really, good job, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you. When you walk through life, you think that you have a plan. You think that you got the doors open and you're walking through. You don't realize that as soon as you start heading in one direction, that door shuts. And that's not because something you did wrong. It's just because that's not the path you're supposed to go. God is opening those doors, and you're not supposed to go through that door. I always thought I was going to be higher in rank at Orange County. I grew up there. I'm from Orange County. I lived there my whole life. I thought I would be there. The problem is that was not my plan. That's not the plan God had intended for me. And so I'm looking at it right now as I was picked up 13 days after my termination by another department, another great department in my hometown. Good. So you see that I am being valued by my current department. I even got a promotion out of it. So it was actually a big move for me. Not physically, because I live in the area, but it just shows you that they recognize that I was doing the right thing for the right reasons.
I love that. And then, David, how did you meet Steve? Were you guys on the force together, or how did this come about? And I definitely want to talk about, where you've begun with raising alphas and where you're going with that, because I love the mission.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. So Steve and I, we've known each other for a little over a decade now. At the time we met, I was in the fire department. I was working for a different one, but we happened to meet up at a local boxing gym. So the first time that we met each other, we were in a ring with gloves and had face coverings on, and we were slugging it out with each other. And we've done that many times since then. And we've just, we hit it off real well. We stayed friends since then. Our wives have gotten along. We both have 2 boys that are within similar age of each other. So it's just been, it's been a good friendship. And with everything that happened with the shutdown, it really strengthened our friendship. Since, I became vocal about this with the Raising Alphas and speaking out against just, against things that just didn't make sense, just pointing the common sense things out. I've had friends that just don't talk to me anymore. They just don't want to hear it from me. So having this shut down, it really, it strengthened our friendship, and it really just showed who your tribe is. I'm not heartbroken about it or anything, but it really just shows you who your good friends are. That being said, as far as the Raising Alphas go, it started off as just like a t-shirt idea,
Yeah, it's a great t-shirt, by the way. Anybody that's listening on the radio right now, if you want to watch the replay, the branding and, like I said, their merchandise line, which says Raising Alphas, is absolutely so cool.
Thank you. We got more coming. We're starting out with just a shirt right now, but we got more coming. But we wore it to, and it was a last minute decision to actually bring the t-shirts to it, but we wore it to the Save a Generation tour when it was in Orlando last year. And
I just missed you guys there.
Yeah, you would happen to be there. We had to leave early. We had babysitter issues going on, but I had to get back to the kids. And we realized then and there, like, we were getting a lot of questions about it. And we still didn't, at that point, it was still just a t-shirt. We still didn't know what we wanted to do from there. I was like, I don't know, t-shirts are kind of thing right now. Let's see if we can get something going. And we realized with all the questions we were getting from people, all the positive feedback we were getting, words like, I think we have something here more than a t-shirt. This is something that we really need to roll with. Since then, we have launched a podcast, Raising Alphas Project podcast, available on Spotify, iTunes, really anywhere that you can get listen to a podcast. We have future plans as well to do like monthly meetings with local parents in the area. come to us with questions. What's something that you had that come up, maybe an issue you're having in a school, talk about it amongst like-minded people, see if all great minds can come together and see if we can help you with a solution. One of the things with raising alphas is it requires parent engagement, hands-on parenting. It's very easy. I mean, I have two boys, 8 and 4 years old. It's very easy, especially when they're teaming up against each other, like they become good friends and they're teaming up against the parents. It's very easy to be like, listen, like just go put on Netflix. Just give me a break. I need a break from you guys. But it requires to be engaged as a parent. Get them out in front of the TV, get them outside, whether it's just go swimming in the pool with them, going on a walk with them, just looking at nature, going camping with them. That's something that we would like to do as well. We would like to have camping excursions. With Raising Alphas Project, parents, bring your kids. Let's set up the tents. Let's show them how to start fires. Let's take the bow and arrow out there. Maybe you can go to a shooting range, things of that nature. So we have a lot of plans that are in the works at the moment. It's all a work in progress right now.
Yeah, which I love, because we've had open communication about that just in setting up this meeting and telling you how we started this show. Like Miriam and I literally, we had an opportunity come up, we jumped on it and we just started rolling. So that's what I respect so much about you guys. You started with an idea, you started rolling.
Yeah, but it's such an important movement, right? Because what we need in this country is parents have to be involved with their kids' lives. I have a boy too, so I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, we can all have like a Raising Alphas band together.
It's very important for parents to be involved, and this is exactly what David and I have been talking about. It's getting in the schools, being engaged. We've seen these school teachers, and my mom's a school teacher, and she taught me and my brother growing up. But we've seen this transition over the last couple of years where they're just teaching children things that are not our values, my values as a father. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with not having my child know, my boys know these type of ways of values, home values. And these are things that need to be addressed at school, and the parents, you have to be engaged.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Parental rights need to be respected nationwide. I mean, luckily we have the parental rights in the state of Florida, and hopefully every single state will have them soon too, because it's a parent's right to choose their education. It's a basic human right too, right? And it's also
sad, as great as it is to have that parental rights bill. It's sad that it even needs to be a bill.
I know.
That should just be an assumed thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the state of Florida, we an organization that I volunteer a lot for called the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, because we get a lot of calls from parents once their kid unfortunately gets put in a mental hospital. And so that was the initiative from that nonprofit, was to make sure that, a parent's right to choose the mental health of their child was protected within the Parental Bill of Rights too. And so that also is a right of a parent as well now. It's not up to the school. A parent has to be involved in that.
Yeah, which is actually monumental and needs to be across the entire country as well.
Definitely.
But everything that you guys are bringing up with regards to the way that you want to raise your children, that is, I said it in the last, or maybe I said it on this one, but it is Article 26, number 3, Part 3. Parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their child. So that's not even in the Parental Bill of Rights. That's in your basic human rights that have been around since the 40s. So it is important that parents like you are starting to stand up and make your voice matter and get involved in the school system and say, hey, this is what we're cool with. This is what we're not cool with.
Right. Be a member of the school board, do whatever it takes, right?
Yeah.
You have to. If we don't speak out for our kids, who will? If I'm not sitting there talking to about my child, about my kids, then who's going to? It's right. I can't expect that a teacher is going to advocate for them. Now, fortunately for David and I both, we have a really good school that our boys attend, and it's great because it's so close for us. The parents are the school teachers are really great. But what happens when those kids enter another area, another school? And I know a lot of my David and I coach soccer, and I know a lot of my parents on our soccer team are forced to go to schools because of where they lived, and they're forced to deal with some of these issues. Like their children were masked the entire year last year. Well, what appeared to be the entire year. David and I, we didn't have that issue because we're in a different county. So those are the things that I think if parents put their foot down, started standing up and speaking out, being on these school boards, being very vocal with these school boards, that this would change. It would stop.
Yeah. And that's a very good
Definitely.
point that you bring up, because we always try to move people. Look, there's a lot of topics being discussed all the time, and there's a lot of information flying at us all the time, but we want to know how you can empower people. So like you just said, we always try to give someone an action. What
Right.
can you do? And what can you do easily? What can you do tomorrow? So like you said, get involved on the local level of the school board, for example. Is that what you guys have done as well?
So this is exactly what we've been speaking about. So after my termination, I knew that I had to be involved. I never cared about politics. I never was involved. I'm in a fire department. I've never been involved with a union. I paid my dues, but I've never been involved. I've never been involved with campaigns. I've never been involved with public speaking or anything like that. I've just gone to work. I've just gone to work, done my job, gone home, and that's pretty much it. In the last 12 months, I've been in the campaign arena with many politicians that are running for office in Orange County and around the state of Florida. I've been involved with my union, very involved with my union. Now, this has a lot to do with what my arbitration, my lawsuit, and some things in that way. But it has moved me in a way that I have to do that. I've been speaking out to small groups. David and I were at a small group today up in Sumner County and the villages, and we spoke to a group of 40. And those were some things that you just empower those people that they spread the same message, and we have to do that. One of our close friends is here with us now, Chris Delgado. He's running for commissioner, District 2. He's going to win that campaign, and he was one of those parents that stood up and said something to the school board, and that's what we need. He says, "You know what? I've got to go run for commissioner because this is what it takes." So
exactly.
Shout out for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
It's funny because for those of us, including myself, that were like, I'm never going to get involved in any of that. And then one day I had to go, but they've shut down the companies and they've shut down the schools and they shut down my church. So at some point, you got to get involved with those that are making the rules,
Yeah,
right?
it's definitely time to speak up.
Yeah.
So to your point, Jara, you just mentioned something about your church, and David and I were talking about this. This is more his story, but we were talking about it, and this is the pivotal point for pastors to start really stepping up, because in the last 2 years they shut you guys down, and this is a problem. Those were supposed to be our sanctuaries, and those places completely shut down, and now it's going to take strong Christian men and women to stand between the threat and these threats that are coming around our government, our schools, a lot of other different places. They're coming in our police forces, everywhere, and we've got to stand up to it.
And all religions, right? We want all strong people of any religion, right? Let's just stand together.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's why we love human rights too, because it crosses the boundaries of race, politics, and all religions. So, but we're coming to the close soon. Not quite yet, but we're wrapping up in a few minutes. I definitely want to thank both of you guys and let the public know again that, you both have such an incredible story. Anytime you're standing up for what you believe in the face of any kind of oppression or obstacles, it does take courage. I love
such courage.
And
I know it's so beautiful.
You guys have the courage and the integrity, and you're passing it on to the young ones. So how can people find you? And then as you continue to grow this brand and stuff, like you said, you want to create a movement, right? Called, Raising Alphas with a plural, Raising Alphas. And then, so what's the website where people can find you guys?
So they can find us at raisingalphasproject.com. We are on Instagram right now, raisingalphas_project. We have a Facebook group up right now. We got a YouTube page going.
Beautiful.
Yep, I'm on Instagram also. Just at David Panzik, nice and simple, first and last name.
And that's PANZ as in zebra, I.
Z as in zebra,
correct?
and you did pronounce it correctly. I meant to point that out to you. Although you had the wrong picture, you pronounced your name correctly. Give you credit where you get it.
There you go.
I'll take it.
Absolutely.
Well, gentlemen, we really want to thank you for being here. And of
Yes,
course,
thank you so much.
I intend on staying in touch with you guys. I love what you're doing, raising this next generation of, and not only boys, but girls too, because you know what? It's important for even young girls and children to have strong male leaders in their lives, and even to
parents to look up to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, parenting starts at home.
Yeah, so I'm
Good
sure
job.
it's raising strong and free-willed and free-minded young women as well.
Young
Yes, and
women
drug-free.
and young men. Those are just as important. And alpha is not just excluded to the male. It is females as well. We
definitely
want them to be
females, right.
strong. We want them to grow up with those strong values.
Right.
So
Raising-
like our ladies here.
That's it. That's it. Raising men
Maybe
to
they'll
be
have their
gentlemen,
own.
raising men to be gentlemen, and women to know, when somebody's not right for them and when they're being treated wrong.
Yes, more of that, please. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much for being on our show. What an incredible show we've
Yes,
had.
thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Raising
Thank you for having us.
Alphas. And we're going to take you out with my song here. You can find it at jera.com, JIERRA.com. And thank you, Miriam, for
Which
another.
song is this one?
This one is Raise My Voice.
I love this song.
with the Marine rapper.
Sing it, Jera.
Voices for Change. Thank you, Miriam.
Yes, Voices for Change.
We'll see and hear you guys, or you'll see and hear us next week. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Much love.
Speak out loud for our freedom.
I wasn't raised to be ignored. Mama, she told me to make some noise. I wasn't raised to play the boy. Out of the bowl, I am the voice. Whenever the people is feeling the void.
WTAN Clearwater
FM 101.